My newfound status as an MMA YouTuber, it is my job to bring you predictions and breakdowns for every fight card, pay-per-view or fight night. So better late than never, here is my predictions and breakdowns for every fight, starting from the prelims to the main event for UFC Fight Night, Derrick Lewis vs Sergey Spivak. We start off in the women's flyweight division with Natalia Silva and Teresa Bleda. Now, Teresa Bleda is making a debut after winning on Contender Series, and I would normally say a debut can cause some pressure, it can cause some nerves, but she's making a debut at the Apex in front of next to nobody, because as we know, the Apex only houses, say, 30 people at a time. Well, that's what it seems like, probably even less, and she's undefeated, so I'm going to have to lean to her by a decision. I'm not saying Natalia Silva, she can't win this matchup, but Teresa Bleda, 6-0, I think it makes sense to say her by a decision. We now move up the card to the bantamweight division with Fernie Garcia taking on Brady Highstand. Now, both of these men seem evenly matched to me. Fernie Garcia has got the advantage with his experience, but I'm going to lead toward Brady Highstand just because his wins seem more versatile. Having a look at their records, Fernie Garcia seems to win either by submission or decision. Brady Highstand has won by submission and knockout, and I know that's not a very good way to base it, but I just feel like if it hits the ground, don't get me wrong, Fernie Garcia could tie up Brady Highstand and could win by submission, but Brady Highstand has got that experience on the ground where he could also win by decision, but I also feel Brady Highstand can knock him out. Fernie Garcia seems to win by decision or submission a lot. Decision. The way I said decision then was quite funny, but yeah, I'm going to go towards Brady Highstand, and I'm going to say decision. And I've said decision correctly there. Next up, we move back to some women's action with Maria Oliveira taking on Vanessa Demopoulos. Now, this is a pick-em fight. Both women are very equal in their abilities, with a lot of submission wins and a few TKO wins. But I'm going to side just lightly with Maria Oliveira, and I'm going to go with a third-round TKO. Now, I know that's weird to say because Vanessa Demopoulos has never been TKO'd or KO'd in her career. But the way I see it going is Maria Oliveira, it's a close first round. Maybe Demopoulos takes a second round. But I think probably what happens is close first round. Oliveira takes the second round and then takes a third round by taking it down. Because I'm not saying Demopoulos couldn't submit it, but I just think Oliveira will get on top in the third round, whale down some shots, TKO victory. But we are talking about the women's division here. Not only could anything happen, but are they really good enough or smart enough to go for the TKOs? We then move on to Ricky Turcios versus Kevin Natividad, and after his last performance, I said to myself, I can't ride with Ricky Turcios again. I think he's very overhyped. I mean, is he really hyped? But if he is hyped, I think he's very overhyped. I can't see him winning a title or maybe even getting into the top 15. But I'm going to go against my word. I'm going to take him in this fight just because Kevin Natividad is quite chinny. He's coming off 2 KO losses in a row. So I'm going to say Ricky Turcios, and I'm going to say another third round TKO. But, I mean, after his last performance, it's very hard to ride with him. I think Kevin Natividad could maybe win it, but just because of his chin, I'm going to say Ricky Turcios third round TKO. But if Ricky Turcios loses this fight, I'm not saying he's going to get cut by the UFC, but I certainly won't be riding with him again, and I think his UFC contract will be on the line in one of his next fights. We then move on to the bantamweight division with Miles Johns and Vince Moraes, and I'm going to take the slight underdog of Vince Moraes. Now, Miles Johns is only the slight favourite. I can see why he's the slight favourite, but I just think Vince Moraes is going to grind out Miles Johns to a decision. I could be very wrong on this, but I'm going to take a chance and say that Vince Moraes is just going to grind him to a decision. I think it'll be pretty even in the feet. Both men have got some knockout power, so I suppose one of them can knock each other out, but I mean, this isn't obviously how it's going to work, but the knockout power will kind of cancel each other out, where if one of them gets a knockdown, the other one will get a knockdown. I could see a very close first 2 rounds, and then I think maybe Vince Moraes just edges the third round. So 3 close rounds, but Vince Moraes ultimately to take the decision, 29-28. Next up, we move on to our final women's fight on the card, which is Jennifer Maia versus Marina Morozo in the flyweight division. Now, I think this is one of those fights where the first round isn't going to see a lot of action. It's going to be quite slow paced, quite even, not quite slow even. And then after that, the eventual winner, in my opinion, which is going to be Marina Morozo, just takes over, gets a decision win, either 30-27 or 29-28. Not a lot to say about this fight apart from, I think, where they could both finish each other, which is obviously on the ground. I mean, Marina Morozo has one TKO doctor stoppage win, but I'm not going to take that into account really because it's only the one. Where they could both finish each other on the ground, I think their skills just both will cancel each other out, and I don't think any of them will be stupid enough to get caught in each other's submissions. So I'm going to go with a decision win for Marina Morozo, 29-28. We then move on to our final fight on the prelims, which is in the flyweight division, and that is Zhumagulov. That is a very hard name to say. I just call him Mike Wazowski because he looks like Mike Wazowski to me. Taking on Charles Johnson. Now, I'm going to take Charles Johnson in this one. He was given a horrible UFC debut against Muhammad Mokaev. I was actually there live for it. And, I mean, we all see what happened. Mokaev just dominated him. Didn't finish in mine, but he did dominate him. And I think that's a horrible debut because Muhammad Mokaev is a very, very good fighter. I know he looked a bit off in his last fight, but I'm sure he's going to learn from his mistakes and correct them in his next fight. So Charles Johnson, very underrated fighter for those who haven't seen him. Obviously because his UFC debut didn't go to plan. But I'm going to take Charles Johnson and I'm going to take him by a second round knockout. We then move on to the main card, which begins in a welterweight division with Jack Della Maddalena versus Danny Roberts. Now, I'm a bit conflicted on this fight. Not on the winner, on how the winner wins. Or in what round should I say, because I know how the winner's going to win, and I know who the winner's going to be. I'm just not sure if it's going to be in the first or second round. And that is going to be Jack Della Maddalena by TKO or knockout. But I'm very conflicted on whether I want to say first round or second round. I'm leaning more towards the second round because even though Jack Della Maddalena has got the dynamite in his hands and Danny Roberts does get hit a lot, I'm just thinking, is he going to make out the first round? I'm very conflicted. But you know what? Because Danny Roberts gets hit a lot and it's Jack Della Maddalena with that dynamite in his hands, first round knockout for Jack Della Maddalena. We then stay in the welterweight division and move on to a matchup which I'm very, very excited for, which is Muslim Salikov versus Andre Filehao. Now, Andre Filehao, I'm probably saying both of those names wrong, so I'm just going to refer to them as Muslim and Andre, or Andre. So Andre has taken a lot of fights recently, but he's got dynamite in his hands. But Muslim, even though he's been out a bit longer, he has also got dynamite in his hands. And I think I'm very excited for this fight because I think we're just going to see a scrap. It could go all 3 rounds, but I'm saying it's going to go. It's not even going to go the first round. I think we're going to see a knockout in the first round, and it's going to be by Muslim because even though they've both got dynamite in their hand, the way Muslim has lost is either by decision or submission. I don't think Andre is going to go for a submission and take him down. So I think Muslim's going to knock him out. And the reason I think that is because Andre, even though he's got the dynamite in his hands, he's also very chinny. So I think we'll see a scrap in the first round. Maybe both men get knocked down, but ultimately Muslim takes a win in the first round by knocking out Andre Filehao. We then go to the heavyweight division, which, spoiler alert, this is the only fight on the main card I don't think ends in a finish. I think this is going to go to a decision. But it's Chase Sherman taking on Waldo Cortez Acosta. And the big question is, how's Acosta's leg? His leg got chewed up in his last fight. And even though it was about 3 weeks ago, I can't remember who it was against. But he should have lost that fight, let's be honest. The judges were on something that night. So I was going to go with Chase Sherman by decision, or even maybe third round TKO, just by chewing up the leg of Costa. But for all we know, it's fully recovered, and also it's Chase Sherman. You don't lose to Chase Sherman. How do you lose to... Even I could beat Chase Sherman. I couldn't. If he sees this, please don't call me out. But yeah, just because it's Chase Sherman, I'm going to go with Waldo Cortez Acosta, and he could very well knock him out because of what he done on Contender Series. But yeah, I'm going to go with Waldo Cortez Acosta by decision just because of his leg. But then it's Chase Sherman, so he should win this fight. Our co-main event sees action in the light heavyweight division as Yon Kutalaba takes on Kennedy Ezenchukwu. Now, I'm going to go with Kennedy Ezenchukwu by first round KO or TKO. He is the slight favourite, which I understand. And I'm going to go on a whim here. This could backfire on me, but I think maybe he should be not a heavy favourite, but more than a slight favourite, because even though Kezidi and Nchukwu could just as easily lose as Jon Cutelaba, I really do not trust the chin of Jon Cutelaba. Now, Nchukwu has got some power in his hands, and Cutelaba, let me check this. I believe he's been knocked out on a few occasions. So he's been KO'd twice in the first round, and one of his losses does come by an illegal strike, which I didn't actually know about. But still, he's been knocked out in the first round. And if we compare that to how many times Nchukwu has knocked people out in the first round, once, twice. Okay, only twice as well. Oh, and he did have one in amateur. But then, if it's not first round, it's coming in the second round. He's only had 2 TKO KOs in the third round. And that is coming from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 KOs. And since I don't trust the chin of Jon Cutelaba, I'm going to go first round KO for Nchukwu. But maybe second round, but I'm going to stick with my gut feeling in the first round. We then move on to the 2 men that this fight card was built around. A big heavyweight clash in the main event as the great Derrick Lewis takes on Sergey Spivak. I'm not going to do an impression of Tom Aspinall. That's for the MMA guru to do. But it's getting harder to side with Derrick Lewis. He's not getting any younger. And he's lost now twice in a row to Taito Ivasa and Sergey Blachowicz. He did beat Chris Daukaus, but anybody could beat Chris Daukaus. And of course, before that, he lost to Gane. But Gane's a killer. I think he beat Ngannou personally, but that's a story for another time. So, really, I should side with Sergey Spivak. He could just take down Lewis. You know, and Lewis, he's got a good takedown get up of just standing up, but at the same time, it doesn't always work. And Sergey Spivak is good. Once he gets you to the ground, he can TKO you. Or he could chew away at the legs and get a TKO. But I'm siding with the Black Beast, Derrick Lewis here. And I probably shouldn't. I do think if he loses this and he fights again, I can't side with him. Or he might even just retire and hang it up after tonight. Tomorrow if he loses. But I'm siding with the Black Beast because we all know about his deadly KO power that he's got. He can knock out anybody if he lands the right shot. And Sergey Spivak gets hit a lot, which is why I'm siding with the Black Beast, Derrick Lewis. But anyway, guys, that is my predictions and breakdowns for UFC Fight Night, Derrick Lewis versus Sergey Spivak. Once again, I said this in the last video, thank you for the support. It's been amazing. I can't believe how much we smashed out in the first week. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe with your friends. And yeah, it's been amazing. Live watch along tomorrow night. Obviously for the prelims and fight main card, not fight card. The whole card is a fight card. Like last week we did for UFC 281. Hopefully I'll see you there. But protect yourself at all times. And I'll see you in the next one.